Okay, okay. So let's see. We have, it's not too long of a lesson, but there's a lot of stuff I want to cover. So I hope we can stay focused. Okay. Right. So let's just get into it. And someone out of the crowd said to him, Teacher, this is to Jesus, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. But he said to him, Man, who appointed me a judge or a divider over you? And he said to them, Watch and guard yourself from all covetousness, for no one's life is in the abundance of his possessions. And he told them a parable, saying, The land of a certain rich man brought forth abundantly. And he reasoned in himself, saying, What shall I do? For I have no place where I may gather my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And I will gather there all my wheat and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have many good things laid up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, Foolish one, this night they are requiring your soul from you. The things which you have prepared, whose will they be? So is he who stores up riches for himself and is not rich toward God. This is the first section that I want to look at from Luke chapter 12. And, you know, one thing that Jesus really wanted to get across to people is how dangerous it is to live in the cycle of the human life. And what does that mean? Well, look, we have a situation where Jesus is preaching to people about the kingdom of God, and someone out of the crowd just blurts out, Oh, Jesus, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Meaning he was in a situation where he wasn't being treated justly in terms of money. Maybe their parents died and one brother got more than the other brother. Is that fair? I mean, no, not really, right? But what did Jesus say to him? He almost said it's better that you didn't get more. Why? Well, look what he said about the rich man. The rich man, he had so much, he didn't even know what to do with it. And I'm sure all of us think that, oh, I want to be like that one day, right? Where we have more than enough, or we have so much that literally, we could retire early or whatever, and then just sit back and enjoy life. And I mean, a lot of people's goals, when they get old, is to travel the world, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's so built upon the idea that unless we have this, we won't be happy. I promise. No worries. Are we tempted to think this way? Why are we pursuing our education, for example? We want to be successful, right? We want to live a life one day where we're comfortable financially. And sometimes we're even willing to do that at the expense of our spiritual life, of our life with others. Have any of you watched The Greatest Showman before? It's one of my favorite movies. And have you seen the main character who's played by Hugh Jackman? The one who opened the circus. Did anyone not watch it? Okay, so I can spoil it. Okay, good. So do you guys remember his state of being before he started the circus? Yeah, he was poor. He didn't have anything, but he did have a wife who he loved so much, and he had two great kids. And I remember a scene at the top of that little apartment complex that they were living in, or whatever it was, where they were hanging up their clothes to dry and whatever. And they were just running together and so happy. And they didn't have much. And he tells his wife, like, I wish I can give them more financial and stuff. And she told him they already have everything they need. They're happy. And we're together. And that's what matters, right? And so he continued to live on in his life. No, that's not enough. I need to pursue more. And he started this circus, and it started to become successful. And he kept pushing forward and forward to bring it more success, to the point where he was going on tours, leaving his family, not being able to be there for his kids. And at the end, were they happy? No, I would say that they were happier before all of this. But what was valuable from that is that he learned where happiness comes from. He learned in that situation what was the real point of living. And God is speaking that to us. This person was saying, oh, he's stuck in the idea, I need to get the inheritance, right? Tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. And Jesus said, why? Okay, sure that you may deserve it. But no one's life, it says here, is in the abundance of his possessions. The sooner we realize that in our life, the better. Let me tell you, I don't know if any of you, or some of you, have started working and making money. Some of you are still in school. But whenever you do get your first paycheck, it's very, very exciting. You see money, you're like, oh, I worked for this, right? Or even like if you get scholarships or whatever, it's cool. But then you kind of realize, well, I need more. And then you keep wanting more. And then it never really it becomes happy for a moment, but then kind of just get used to it. And you kind of forget the state you used to be in. Now you're working so hard and you're getting money, but like you don't have time. For example, like if you overdo it, I'm saying, no longer have time for your family, other things are important to you, spending time with God. Like I'm a person that no matter what situation I'll be in the future, I refuse to work on a Sunday. Just because I feel like it's a day, I mean, and not religiously speaking or like you have to, but personally speaking, like I want to give a day for God at least one day where it's fully given to the Lord, where I can serve him, where I can remember what really matters. Because life is so tempting. We get tempted to think that we need more and that what we have is not enough. I wonder if any of us think that way. And it's normal to think that way. I think the world is set up to teach us that's how we need to live. We need to keep getting ahead. But there's nothing wrong with, being successful, right? But when does it reach a point where it starts to destroy us, starts to cause us to forget why we're here on this earth? Because what was the problem with this person here that he gave a parable about? Was it wrong that he was rich? No, I don't think so. And God never said, oh, cursed this man who's rich. No, he never said that. But what was the problem with this rich person? What did he say in his soul? He said, you have many goods laid up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry. right? The problem is that he accounted that he has many years to live and just enjoy it now. Now that you worked so hard, just enjoy the many years. See, first, that's the problem. One is he assumed he has many years left. Do we know when we're going to die? No. Do we know that we are going to die? Yes. I mean, unless Jesus comes back. But if not, then one day we're going to die. I've told you this before, but my neighbor during the past year, the first year of the pandemic, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a huge firestorm all over California. It was one of the worst in a long time. And my neighbor is pretty rich, and he has houses up north in Northern California near Sacramento. I might have mentioned this. Yeah, I think Phoebe knows. And he had two big houses there that he built himself because he's a construction dude, and he's been very successful. Now he's in his 70s, and he goes to the beach every day, enjoys life, which is great. But he had two big houses up there in Sacramento, probably worth millions. And I learned to hear from him. He told me they burned down, both houses. And the thing is, he worked so hard to build those. He built those from his bare hands. And not only that, all his possessions were stored in that house. He had built a safe that is meant to withstand the hottest fires. And he put all his prized possessions there. Who knows what is in it? And all of it, including this safe, was melted and burned and destroyed. The fire just got so hot, more than they ever expected it would. And everything obliterated. All his vehicles, everything. The insurance paid nothing in comparison. While this might be a very tragic thing, and we're like, oh, poor guy. When we rest our hope in this world alone, we're following the same path. Your possessions won't literally burn up. But the moment you pass, everything disappears from your possession. He says here, the things which you have prepared, whose will they be? Right? With the moment that you pass, the moment that your soul is taken up out of this earth, everything that you had, everything you invested in with your life, whose will they be? Right? You take anything with you? No, nothing, not a dime. So at the end of the day, what matters? Right? I kind of describe what matters in kind of like a little list. The number one thing that matters here on this earth, I would say, is health, right? Imagine if you're rich but you have poor health, what's the point, right? But even more than health is our spiritual well-being, because that lasts forever. Our human health, no matter how healthy we are, we're gonna die one day. So before anything, I would say is health, physical health, including mental health. Right? Physical and mental health are connected, and so is spiritual health. But more important than physical and mental health is our spiritual health, which God describes here as richness toward God. He who stores up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God will lose everything. Just like this man, my neighbor, lost everything. Thankfully, he still had a home here next to us. And he was thankful for that. And he even confessed to me, he's like, I think we overdid it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I think we overdid it. It was foolish of us to be so focused on these things that they just disappeared one day. And eventually they would, even if they never burned down, one day they would be gone. He would be gone, his wife. I mean, we don't want to think like this, oh, one day I'll be gone, but this is the truth. And so where is our richness stored? Is it here? Is it in a house that will one day burn down? We don't know when it will burn down, but one day it will. Or is it in a home that lasts forever, or we can be secure? I hope it's in the second. I hope it's towards God. And just a few verses about richness. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed away from the faith in their greediness and perceive themselves through with many sorrows. And it doesn't say money is the root of all evil, because it's not. Money is not bad. If you're rich, you're not evil. What's the difference? The love of money. It's where this becomes your first priority in your life above God. And your whole purpose in life is to get so much, and that you would even do that at the cost of losing your own soul. You see the difference between just being rich and being obsessed with your riches? And it even says in here in Timothy, because there were rich people in the church, it says, command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, this is proud, nor to trust in uncertain riches. So we're not to put our trust in these things, but in the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy. Let them do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share, storing up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may hold on eternal life. See, this is the real prize, is the eternal life that we have with the Lord. When we are blessed with riches, what greater thing than to bless others with those riches? Right? When God blesses you, say if you grow up one day and you have so much, I believe God desires for us to use that for Him, to bless other people with it. I mean, of course, you are more than able to enjoy them, and you should. But to hold on to them as if you can trust in them, it brings us many sorrows. If this was the recipe to happiness, God would say, go, be rich. If this man had it right, if having after stored so many riches for many years, he was to go rest, eat, drink, and be merry, if that was the secret to happiness, Jesus would say blatantly, go do that. But it's not. That's the thing. It's not that God's like, oh, how dare you live in that way. It's uncertain. One day it's there, one day it's not. If you leave the Lord for riches, you will be filled with sorrow. You're not going to be on your deathbed wishing I had more money. You're going to be wishing I spent more time with my family. I wish I grew in my relationship with God. I wish I served people. I wish I made a difference in my community, in my country, wherever it may be. I wish I impacted more people. You're going to want things that had eternal meaning, not temporary value, right? If we think about it, really. We were built for eternity. That's why we find happiness in helping people, because there's an eternal reward for that. There's an eternal impact when we touch people's lives, when we bring them happiness, when we pull them out of depression anxiety. And sometimes money can help doing that. But it is not the thing that gives us happiness. And then later, after he speaks about this, he turns to his disciples and he says, "Therefore, I say to you, do not be anxious for your life, what you should eat, nor for your body, what you should put on. For the life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens, they neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, yet God nourishes them. How much more valuable are you than the birds? And which of you, being anxious, can add a cubit to his stature? If then you cannot do even the least, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They do not toil, nor even spin thread, but I tell you, not even Solomon in all his glory was clothed like one of these." So now we switch gears, but we're still kind of talking about a very similar subject. Because why do we push our direction towards a life that is filled with physical riches in the first place? I believe it's fueled by anxiety. We find that unless I have all this, I will not be secure. Unless I reach that position in my life, once I reach that career, then I'll be happy. Then people will say, "Oh, look at this person." And that will bring me security, that will bring me peace, that will bring me everything I need. Let me tell you, I watched a story about this guy not too long ago, or actually a few years ago. And he was sharing his experience becoming a doctor. And he was a very brilliant person, like very smart. And he worked really hard and he wanted to be a doctor his whole life. And he worked so hard. And he was even, once he got into a very good school, they told him to look to your left and right. And they said, most of you won't make it. And, then on, through competition with one another, they all tried to succeed. And he was one of the ones that succeeded and went on to being a doctor. And then once he became a doctor, once he received that title, he said he entered into such a severe depression, more than he's ever entered in his whole life. Because he got what he wanted so bad. But then the question kept haunting him, well, what's next? Meaning, you got what you wanted, what now? Your goal has been met. What's the reason for you to go on now? And this really hurt him. And I don't remember if he withdrew as a doctor or not. And I'm not saying every person is going to experience that, obviously. But I think we can learn from that to think, we get so anxious about our life, about our grades, about our career, especially us who are young. We don't feel like we're enough until we're that person. We feel like we're a failure unless we reach that point in our life. Or if we don't reach it, we're less than who God says we are. That's not true at all. Because we look at this verse. You guys recognize Jeremiah 29:11? This is a very popular verse. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And we look at this verse and we say, "Oh, the Lord wants to put me in such a beautiful place in my life." And we like to assume this means I'm going to get this career, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be this and that, and God just wants that for us. And maybe that is true. I don't know. Maybe he wants you to be a doctor. Maybe he wants you to be an actor or a singer or whatever it is. I'm just saying what people consider successful today. But what if I told you that the plans that the Lord has for us to prosper us, to give us a hope in the future, exists right now in front of you already? What if the blessing is not the end point, it's not the place we're going to end up, but is actually the journey getting there? What if getting to that point in our life, or whatever that may be, living it day by day, that's the blessing, that's the hope, that's the future that God promises us? Because is our future, secured? Do you know if you're going to live to 80 to 90 to 100 or whatever? Even know if you're going to live to 30? No. So why would he say such a thing if we don't even know the day we're going to be called out of this world? He said to him, "Foolish one, this night they are requiring your soul from you." Meaning at any moment, you could just pass away. Who knows? Car accident, this, that. Hopefully not. Hopefully never we have to face something tragic. But can I promise that? Can anyone promise that? No. And so for us to get caught up into thinking that one day I will be happy, one day I will have it all, it's only going to lead to anxiety. And what does the Lord say? He says, do not be anxious for your life. He said, look at the ravens, look at the birds. He says, they don't do anything. They just live their life who they're meant to be, and God nourishes them. And he says, how much more valuable are you than birds? Are you not more valuable than mere birds? Or I would say squirrels here, because I see squirrels a lot. Have you seen squirrels in neighborhoods? They're so fat, so chubby. Yesterday I was at Dana Point, and it's by the harbor area where they have the stones. Has anyone been to Dana Point? Yeah. You know where that stone column is and all the birds are sitting on it? Yeah, the harbor where the boats come in and people are, the restaurant. Well, when you sit there, there's a bunch of squirrels coming out of the rocks, and each one is fatter than the next. I kid you not, they're like chunky. They eat well. It's probably because the people keep throwing food. Yeah. There's the white squirrels. They're so fat. I don't know how. I feel like they have diabetes or something. I hope not. But they eat so well and they're so happy. They're just living, doing their thing, and they're nourished. And they see my garden. At home I have squirrels too, and my garden's like open buffet to them. They just eat everything. And God nourishes them. He allows them to be prosperous. But what do animals do? They just survive and reproduce. That's the whole point of their life. There's nothing else. And how much more valuable are we? Not only will God provide for us in food and what we need, but he'll provide for us in a much deeper way, because he knows our needs. He knows the need of an animal is just to eat and do its thing. For humans, it's deeper than that. It's connection, it's love. It's, peace, justice. We want to love others, to impact others, to be happy, to be prosperous, and not just money and family, right? And God knows that. And he says, which of one of you being anxious can add a cubit to his stature? And this is a general term meaning which one of you being anxious about anything can increase that thing? If it's anxious about how long you live, how will being anxious about that add 1 hour to your life? How being anxious about your career make you any better towards that career path? It won't. If anything, it'll make it worse. It'll make it harder. Once you're anxious, you live in torment. Your mental health suffers. Everything suffers. Your physical health. You live in fear. You're just disabled, paralyzed. But God says, I will provide for you. And that is his plan for us. Just as we continue on in our life with God, depending on him, that he blesses us in more ways than we can ever imagine. And in turn, when you look back at your life and you're like, wow, I had no reason to be worried. If he takes care of the birds, will he not take care of me? If he created the universe for the very purpose that I should exist, will he not see through it to the end that we are happy? If the only reason the stars are up in the sky is to show that he loves us and that he's there for us and he created the universe so that he can live with us, will he not give us what we need? Does he not know what we need? Sometimes we think we know what we need more than God. Trust me, we don't. Trust me, I've experienced that. To say to God, I think I know what I need. To follow through with that. And find out it's really not what we need. It's really not what makes us happy. So I want to ask you guys, you can shout it out or raise your hand or not say anything. What do you want in life? What really are you looking for? What do you think when you have this thing, it will complete your life? What are you looking forward to? Does anybody want to answer? Just be anything. I don't like be something thought out, not just a word like food. I look forward to food.
A lot of people see that stability like money or having a house or having like possessions that make you feel stable. The problem is when it goes, you're left
Exactly.
nothing again. So I think that I was just like thinking about it on Friday. That our like the true peace that we get is with God. It's been like a week for us, and I feel like the biggest, most valuable thing we have is that peace that we get from God. Because in the midst of everything, like we felt peace, even though nothing worked out like we wanted to. So I think that's the most important thing that us as Christians should strive in life, isn't having like a career that people would look to and say, oh wow, or a good car, or a good house, or something like that. But it's that peace that we get. It's that peace that gives us, that makes us personally feel happy.
No, exactly. Exactly. No, thank you for sharing that because it's literally on the dot. And the thing is, I mean, it depends on the culture we live in too. It has different expectations of what we should be, what defines success. And you know, God already calls us to be living in that success today. His plans to prosper us start now. Are we prosperous today? We should be. And I don't just mean financially. I mean in every way in your life. Are you filled with peace? Like Paul was saying, are you filled with the happiness? Even though life sucks or whatever is going on, are you still filled with peace? Are you still able to look upon someone and give them hope? and say, the Lord has given me peace. My life is crazy, but I have peace. Come, taste and see the peace and love of God. Because when we face the Lord in eternity, do we not want to know that we did everything for Him? Do we not want to know that we could have lived for Him in such a pure way? And doesn't just mean like I did everything right. It literally means that I let Him prosper my life, or that I say, no, God, I'm going to live in my anxiety and do it my way and be tired my whole life. And then finally, when I do have that extra money to enjoy life, you feel like you're running for spare time. One thing that is very similar to this experience is summer break. Whenever summer break starts, isn't it like amazing?
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, I have 2-3 months. Yeah, you're like, oh my God, goodness, I have 2-3 months, no school, all this. And you just can't wait. You're like so happy. Like my mom used to make a song for us whenever school ended. And she's like, congratulations, you're on vacation. No more schoolation, celebration. In her Arab accent. And we just laugh. But then before you know it, you're counting down the days and it's like, okay, there's 8 weeks left, 7, 6, 5, 4. And then you're starting to approach the end and you're just like dreading every moment. You're like, yeah, it all starts to come back even worse than it was before. And you're afraid. You don't want to go back to school. And I don't blame you. I hated school. Especially high school is tough. College is better. I mean, I hope. Depends what you're doing. You have more free time, kind of. Just don't procrastinate, trust me. But that feeling, it's just, you don't want to feel that at the end of your life. And unless you trust in God, you will feel that. And so we need to trust in God. We need to live today like it's our vacation, in the sense that we take advantage of the life God gives us today. We have balance in our life. We balance family. We balance education. We balance our money, our everything. And we trust God day by day. Lord, I don't know what I need to be. I don't know what you have in store for my career, or maybe you do know. But Lord, lead me to that direction. Let me be a blessing every step on the way, because if I die tomorrow, I want to be ready. I want to know that I gave it my all today, not in 10 years, not when I'm old, but today. I hope that we have this perspective, because it will make our life so much more wonderful when we serve God. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, we can. So I think we can end here. I mean, this is similar. This last section here, it's literally saying just, the world is anxious. The world instructs us to be anxious because that's how the world is. That's how people are within the world. They have every reason to be anxious. If I wasn't dependent on God, I see why anxiety exists. I see why depression exists. It makes sense that these things would exist and they can take over a person. Because what else would you live for? Why are you here? Are you just a very intelligent animal? If so, why, what's the point? The very fact that we can question these things reveals to us that life is much more than these things, because we want something deeper. And nothing in the world can address that deepness except God Himself. So when we are sharing the word with others, when we are here together, sitting and listening to God's word, we are literally addressing this need. And I am a human. I am created in God's image, and therefore, to be complete, to be satisfied, I need God. That is literally summing up this whole lesson. Nothing, not money, not career, not direction in the world is going to give us happiness except God. And to look forward to that is great. But without God, it has no purpose. It has no direction. And so let us take each day in its day and just do our best each day. Let us speak to God each day. Let us grow in our relationship with God each day. Let us let Him be the prosperous one in our life, be the one who gives us this plan, this hope, this future. And not just when we get there, not just when we're a doctor, not just when we're a singer, a this, a that, I don't know what it is, lawyer, policeman, I don't know. Just trying to think of careers. CEO, business owner. Is it astronaut, chef, having 20 restaurant, garbage man? It's not when you get there that you're happy. It's the journey there that God takes us through that grows us, that gives us life, gives us an ability to love people, to impact people, to pick up their garbage. If you're a garbage man, make their day better. Picked up their garbage, right? And anything you do, if you're volunteering, if you're just working a little job, it's a blessing. If you're still in school, it's a blessing. Be a blessing. Be prosperous wherever you are today. Amen. Amen. So yeah, these are just ending thoughts. We went through all of them. They're just reminders. I'll put these up if you guys want to look at this presentation and the video. They're going to be online.